So I've learned so much from this lady right here. And one of the things that's really, really challenging for me is to like slow down, turn it off. She says like turn off Jensen mode. And so what does that mean?
It's just going. It's kind of like the Energizer Bunny. It just can't stop. It just keeps going.
Can't sit still.
You can't sit still. Yeah. And I don't know if it's because of discomfort in sitting still, or maybe there's awarenesses that come up when they sit still. I don't know what it
It's
is.
habit.
It's habit. It's habit that you witnessed through your generations, parents, grandparents. And so I'm trying really hard for it to not pass down to our children.
Yeah. And she's doing a good job of like tempering the Jensen mode that I've adopted and learned. And so this discussion that we're about to have is really all about self-care and really bringing, what do you want to say? Like, what was your quote? Or maybe we should save that quote.
We'll save that quote for when you start listening, but it really is about your relationship with yourself. So I'll give you a little hint there, and something that you might not actually connect to that relationship.
Yeah. So that was an important quote. Stay tuned for that. And essentially, we want to frame this in this discussion around everyday detox, which you're going to learn a little bit more about. The upcoming season, September, is really about really diving back into cellular healing. And so we've got some cool stuff coming away for that. So stay tuned in and find out more about Sonya's quote and also everyday detox. Sonya and I have a daily ritual. It's called tea time. And it's something that she's trained me to do each night before we go to bed. It's sort of our connection time, our one-on-one time. We get to snuggle and watch a little TV or something, maybe talk about the day, maybe argue about something. We'll find something to do that nighttime. But one of those pieces, we wouldn't do that without a little bit of self-love, a little bit of self-care into the tea. So usually I'm making like a nice little chai tea blend, of course, something that really brings Sonya back to her roots. Like I said, she's trained me very well. She doesn't make tea at night. It would be a very rare occasion that she would do that. So I really have to step up my game each night to make sure that I'm serving the appropriate tea. And there needs to be some sort of superfood or something that goes into that tea so that it's like the cherry on top, right?
Yeah, so traditionally I grew up drinking golden milk, or what's known as golden milk. We called it healthy milk. And so this product that we've been using called gold, because it really is like liquid gold, and it has turmeric in it, it has digestive support in it. It really upped the game to that healthy milk that I grew up with.
And her nanny used to make that, which is her grandma. And so I can't possibly get close to what nanny makes, but this is maybe a close second. But the point is that there's prebiotic stuff in here. There's stuff for recovery, reducing inflammation. There's minerals, like immune boosters. It's really like a wonderful nightcap. So for us, tea is our nightcap. It's our nightly ritual. And we love the Organifi Gold as a self-care tool to really support the tissues of the body, help with detox too. Turmeric's great for the liver. It's great for brain detox. Amazing stuff in there. And how's it taste? How's it compare to Nanny's?
Oh, well, I mean, you can't do that.
Okay.
But if you add a little bit of ghee to this, I think it can become close.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. Self-care ritual, nightly dose of gold.
Yes.
From Organifi.
Yeah. And if you use the code Dr. Jensen, you get 20% off at Organifi.com.
Hey again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Health Ignited with Dr. Sonya Jensen and myself. And today's topic is a really important one.
Yeah, it's one that we often talk about, and it's a big part of our lifestyle, and it's something that we want to share with all of you so that you can start maybe inquiring or become more curious about yourself, because I believe that the ultimate act of self-care is to know yourself.
All right. That's a big statement and an important one. So can you flesh that out for people? Like, what does that actually mean?
Yeah, I think what it does, it forces us to, again, step into that self-inquiry. So what is it that my body requires from me, or what is it that my mind needs in order for it to feel at ease? It just gives us this opportunity to understand ourselves more, because so much of who we are is through our conditioning. So depending on the lifestyle that was passed down from our parents, when it comes to food and movement and way of thinking, we have now created this identity according to those habits. So once we start inquiring and become curious about ourselves and really knowing, okay, what can my body look like, or what can my body feel like, then we can start understanding, okay, well, how does my physiology actually work, and how can I support it so I can reach my goals? Maybe that goal is more energy, or maybe that goal is to do a Spartan race, or maybe that goal is to be able to travel the world. And I think before being able to do any of that, we have to step into self-inquiry.
So good. I love the definition. And the other thing that I think about often is that so much of our life can feel like habit, and we just get so just locked in our routines, and we're not necessarily planning. Like, we may plan certain things in our life, like a trip, which you're really good at doing that, or it's our son's birthdays this weekend, birthdays as in it's happening together. Sonya is so good at planning for that and getting everything ready, and her and our youngest son were actually making the cake for this weekend. So there's so much preparation there, right?
My first attempt at a healthy ice cream cake.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. Yeah. We'll have to share the recipe and then share how it went, or maybe we'll have to get Soren to speak to how it tastes. But like, look at all the things that we prep for in our life. We prep for so many things, prep for an interview for a job, or you prep for a presentation that you're going to deliver. And then when it comes to our health, we're not often prepping, we're reacting. We're stuck in this reaction stage. And so, I love that you brought the ultimate act of self-care is really self-awareness. And so, like, this is an opportunity to really develop a capacity for self-awareness.
Yeah. And, right now in the season of summer, so we're thinking about camping, we're thinking about all the various activities that we can do with our families, but not really thinking ahead of October, November, and what that often can look like for our health when we step into that season where sometimes we're not feeling so great, and the rains are coming, and our immune system maybe is needing some support, but we're not prepping for that time because, and there's the sense of like wanting to be in the now, which is so important. But I think the more we're aware of what we're stepping into and how we can step into that from our best place, the easier it is to navigate the symptoms that show up or just navigate our goals.
Another thing that I notice is people are doing preparation for summer. We're driven by how we look physically. So people want to lose the weight, look good in the bathing suit, and you got to get beach ready. And then summer happens, and it's barbecues, and maybe it's alcohol and sort of a gluttony of food that comes in on the weekends. And then there's like this recuperation phase that happens in the fall, right? But our whole teaching is like, how do you create structure, support, prevention, being proactive throughout every day? And that's really like adopting this sort of mindset of everyday detox, right?
Yeah. And, stepping back into that self-inquiry and curiosity about our physiology, it's our body's always detoxing. So when we're sleeping, we have our lymphatics in our brain that are draining all the toxins from our brain. Our liver is dumping out the toxins that it received during that day. Throughout the whole month, we're, moving things out. And also for women, at the end of the month, that period is going to be a reflection of how much you detox and how much you didn't, depending on the quality of your blood and your mood and all the various symptoms that you might experience. So the body is constantly navigating its environment and what it's supposed to keep and what it's supposed to get rid of.
I'm glad you said environment. When I think of detoxification, it's kind of like the environment's constantly delivering a demand on the body. And so we're constantly adapting to that demand. And so, one of the things that comes up from our shamanic training is I need this right relationship. Can we be in right relationship with our environment? In that our environment has a tremendous amount of demands, whether it be like from Wi-Fi to like relationship stress, to like to-do lists, to work, to the kids, pesticides, the products we're using for cooking, to the cleaning products, to the air fresheners, to like we're being overwhelmed by our environment. And our body, is it in right relationship with that? Meaning, do we have a resilient body? Do we have a proactive, prevention focused mindset so that we can overcome the environment? We are becoming an equilibrium to the environment when our body is expressing illness. Those symptoms and everything is a manifestation for the overwhelm that we're receiving from that environment.
Yeah. So how is this related to self-care? is the thoughts that we have or the habits that we have that are driving our actions are going to impact that physiology or impact our body's ability to detoxify. So if our self-worth needs to be challenged a little bit, in a sense that we need to understand that we are worthy of taking care of ourselves, or we are worthy of buying those non-toxic pots and pans because we know in the long run that's going to support us. But often we will put those kinds of purchases or those kinds of actions and decisions on the back burner because we have so many other things going on in our lives that feel in the moment more important, even though these things that we do every single day make an impact in our lives.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, from the even like the mattress that you sleep on, where are you spending most of your time? Hopefully you're spending some time in the kitchen, not just ordering fast food every day, but we spend a tremendous amount of time sleeping at night. So what's your mattress like? Are you breathing in, all the glues and plastics and things like that are part of mattress, or have you invested in an ideal organic mattress that doesn't have this off gassing? Or your sheets, like, are you sleeping on cotton? Little things like that. You're spending a tremendous amount of time there. We did another podcast a little bit about some of the environmental influences that can be in your home. We sort of broke down room by room, but to your point of like, where are we investing our resources, our time, our energy, our money on things that are going to have an effect either for better or for worse when it comes to our health. And that's part of that, like, self-care, self-awareness mindset and this everyday detox kind of philosophy.
Yeah, so that's really the message we really want to relay today, is that detoxification is an everyday thing. And then there's going to be moments where you do really deep detoxing, like you're detoxing your cells because maybe you have some autoimmune condition going on, or there's mercury or lead in your system, or there's fertility challenges that you're having. Like there's a number of different things that can be showing up, and you want to detox in like the fall or the spring or different seasons where your body is requiring you to go a little bit deeper. And so we really want to emphasize there's the everyday, and then there's like the bigger ones that are going to support that cleaning of that lymphatic system and the rubbish, or what's it called?
Rubbish. That's like this, rubbish.
Right. Rubbish.
Yeah. I mean, you bring up a good point. One of the analogies I think is really helpful here is, if you imagine a sponge, if you throw a sponge into like a mud pie or mud pile, and it gets really dark and brown, and then you take that sponge, you put it into a bucket of clean water, well, eventually that water is going to turn brown. It's going to be, it's going to discolor everything. That's sort of a representation of the liver. The liver is kind of like a sponge. It's a filtration system for our blood and everything that gets into our body, from on the skin surface to the things we're breathing in to the things we're putting into our body, orally, whatever. It's all a process that our liver has to deal with. So it's kind of like, the deeper cleanses, or maybe even the superficial cleanses, are sort of working on wringing out that liver a little bit, or sorry, the liver, which could be the metaphorical sponge. And then, if you wanted to really clean out that sponge, you'd have to, pressure wash it, get the hose in there and just flush it with all this fresh water. And then you take that clean sponge, put it into the water bucket again, a clean one. It's going to be able to, obviously there's no discoloration, but you could take that same sponge and put it into a dirty water bin, and it's going to start to pull some of the dirt out of that water. So it really becomes a really important filtration system. And that's just one aspect of detox, right? And I think, it's a really important one. It's a really important filtration system in your body. But there's other aspects of detox that are often being missed.
Yeah. And we won't go into too detail of what those systems are, but just to name a few: the lymphatic system, your gut, of course, your kidneys, your skin is also detoxifying, your breath. Everything is in that movement of outward motion to get rid of the stuff that's not serving you. And that's also the brain, right? The brain's always protecting you when you're in danger, or when you're in a trauma response, or when you're feeling stress. It's going to do whatever it can to help you survive, and the body's doing the same. So what we're trying to educate you on right now is to, again, step into curiosity of your physiology, of your environment, to see, like, is it actually matching what you want for yourself?
Yeah, so important. In this concept of overcoming the environment and understanding some of these, daily interferences of how these things become a part of our body, it's so important to get to a place where we feel good about the choices we make and we don't feel guilty, you know. And the reality is that we can't totally overcome the environment. And so let's talk a little bit about the mindset, because that's also a way that we detoxify. Yeah.
What about the mindset?
Well, it's kind of how you started the conversation. I thought it'd be like a good one to sort of close. Yeah. Okay. Because there's these physical aspects to detoxification, which we have to overcome and, you know, reconcile and whatnot. And yet if our mindset is still locked in a belief system or a way of thinking or an identity that's not serving us, it can be a thing that's holding us back. I'll give you an example. I just had a conversation with someone this morning who was, you know, investigating whether or not we'd be a right fit for them. And they kind of said, we've done everything. And I said, well, you know, obviously you haven't done everything because, you know, you're on the phone with us, you're still communicating, there's still more to go. And, you know, this individual had a bunch of different things that they wanted to work on. But the reality is that there was also a nervous system toxicity. You know, there's a mental emotional system toxicity. And all of these things become a burden on the body if we don't move into a place of understanding, self-awareness, right?
Yeah. So going back to that, like, what is self-care? And so if we're making that statement that, you know, self-care really is or ultimate self-care is self-awareness or self-curiosity, or giving ourselves space to really understand who we are, we first have to understand the identity that we've been carrying with us. So maybe homework for all of you is to ask yourself that question of, you know, how do I identify with my habits, with the foods that I'm eating every day, with my environment? Like, what are some things that were passed down as habits from my parents? Maybe just having this like time to journal and inquire will then allow you to create some goals for yourself. Okay, what do I want for myself? Do I want more energy? Do I want these other things that are going to allow me to live the life that I want or dream the life that I want? So having those two lists, then really understanding your environment. Okay, what's in my environment that's creating the challenge or the interference? And then it's going to give you an idea of like, wow, okay, I really do need to detox. And that might be detoxing relationships. That might be detoxifying how you're talking to yourself. That might be the physical detox. So I think just laying that out for yourself is going to give you an idea of how important detox is every day.
Yeah. So there's some snippets of what everyday detox looks like. Obviously, when we all need to do those deeper dive detoxes, we got to get, you know, unearth, you know, the reason why maybe our liver enzymes are constantly higher, cholesterol levels are constantly higher, why the fatigue hasn't gone away, or the digestive dysfunction hasn't gone away, or the brain fog, or you mentioned the autoimmune conditions, the cardiovascular disease. Our environment becomes a part of us internally, which then manifests as dis-ease in the body. And so detoxification is part of all of these different conditions that we, you know, at some point will have to come to terms with. Right?
Yeah. So you have some homework.
Yeah.
And we try to do something that, you know, some sort of self-inquiry every day, whether it's like internally or with each other, to see, okay, what is still in our environment that's maybe impacting us. And it's an ongoing learning. So don't think that it's something that you have to do overnight, but this is just a start of your journey and some self-inquiry, and make it a little bit fun too, because you're going to get to know yourself a little bit better.
So if you enjoyed this information, we would love to hear from you. What are you doing to everyday detox? You know, and if you're watching us on YouTube, please comment below. Instagram, again, send us some messages. We'd love to hear from you. DM us. This is our passion. We love teaching this education because this frees up our cellular health, cellular integrity, opens up our hormonal system, moves us into an optimal state. So we'd love to hear from you. Tell us more about what you're doing.
And you might be doing something that we don't know about, so we want to learn too.